Alrighty, so over the years, the filmmaking world has had its fair share of fads or trends, such as luma fades, whip pan transitions, and teal and orange grades, and I've loved every single one of them. The recent years, however, probably the biggest trend has been the film look, and I have absolutely loved it, as have many people, but there's been a problem, and the fact is that it is not that easy to get it to look good. Slapping a LUT on very rarely looks as good as what it does when you get that LUT. Somebody else has made that LUT specifically for the footage that they shot, and it doesn't always work with your footage. And so many people also maybe don't understand exactly how to utilize that LUT, and it ends up looking like yellowy like smoker's teeth or all kind of wacky colors. Now, what if there was a tool which let you have full control, like finite control of every single detail? Well, there is, and it's not a new one, it's been around for a while. Step into the arena, Dehancer, which sells itself as being the best and most custom way of getting the film look with ease and having the most control over it. It's not a new app. I'm sure if you're in the filmmaking space, you've already have this or if you have heard of this. Now, the Dehancer team reached out to me and said, would I like to review their plugin in exchange for not money, look at my subscriber count here, but for a license for a year for the software. So yes, I jumped at that chance because who wouldn't? I love me a good film look, and until now I've been doing it a completely different way. But since I have this Dehancer, we're gonna review it and see how I find it and if it is as good as everybody says it is. And because we know how this game plays out, there is a 10% discount available for anybody that uses the code FilmmakerEvo25 when they check out and get this plugin. It gives you a 10% discount and it gives me a commission. Win-win situation. Thank you, Dehancer team. Alrighty, straight off the bat, let's just address the elephant in the room here. While Dehancer did not pay me for this review, they did give me the software for free, so I'm kinda in their pocket, but they did state, and they were very quick to state this in like the first line of the email they sent me, the initial email they sent me, and that was that I can say whatever I want and they're not gonna need to approve it. It's just put it out there. Whatever I want to say or do, just use the plugin. One thing I absolutely love is that the Dehancer team have modeled every feature, every function in here, all around the old classic film developing processes. Nice, I like that, it's a nice touch. It's very simple to use and you can just run from top to bottom, going down each individual one, and you can get as in-depth as you like, or you can select presets. Now there is a million different sections here, so I'm just gonna go over the main important ones. All right, so there's a film stock section. The film stock is where you can pick which film you want to emulate. There are millions. You are absolutely spoiled for choice with this plugin. There is all your Kodaks, like your Portras, your Vision 3, which is the movie stock, which I shoot a lot of because I shoot film photography. I like to shoot the re-spooled Vision 3 for 35 or 120 film. But there's also Cine Steel, there's Fuji Reeler, there is a bunch of ones I'm not even sure how to pronounce this. Agfa Chrome and Agfa Color. But whatever that is, you've got that. So plenty of film stocks. Every film stock you can imagine, it's probably got it on here. Film grain, everybody loves a good film grain, and with the Dehancer app, it's made super easy. There are a bunch of profiles from 8mm all up to 65mm IMAX, all at different ISO ranges as well. And if you want total control, you can click custom and it brings up a butt ton more sliders. There is things such as the size, the amount, the resolution of the film, and the ability to even dial it in and out of certain things as the highlights, the midtones, or the shadows. That's pretty cool. Halation. You have exactly the same presets, 8mm all up to 65mm, and once again, the option to get the perfect film look if you really want to tweak it by clicking on the custom tab. Okay, bloom. Layman's terms, what this does is it targets high contrast areas of the image and lets the highlights bleed over into the shadows for a kind of dreamy looking vibe. Super cool, and once again you have all of the presets from 8mm to 65 and the ability to go fully customized and tweak all those sliders and get the exact look that you want. There's the film damage section. This lets you get those kind of like dusty looking bits or damaged bits that kind of like jiggle around on the screen that you see in a lot of old footage or film footage, which can give you a really nice retro vibe if that's the look you're going for. Film breadth. This is an interesting one. It gives subtle variations frame by frame on things like exposure and color contrast. Gate weave. Gate weave adds a slight wiggle to the position of the film, kind of like how you used to get it when the film would be running through projector, and it would just have this ever so slight, just like subtle like position keyframing, and it just adds that without you needing to spend hours keyframing and trying to replicate yourself. Great. Okay, so now overscan. I think this has only just been added, but it basically is just the ability to add that sprocket hold look, kind of like when you see people and they've got their Super 8 footage and it's got the image in the middle and then it's got the little hole that dances about, and you can see it's like they've just recorded the whole width of the film. Super cool, comes in all of the film variations, and if that's the look you're going for, you no longer now have to find an overlay. You can just use it straight in the Dehancer app. Alrighty, so I've got a timeline with a few clips on it, and we're gonna go through and grade some of them and see how good this plugin is, the Dehancer plugin. I am gonna first show you how I would normally do it and how I've been doing it up until now to get the film look that I like, and then we're just gonna try the plugin out. So how I would start this, I delete everything. It comes with one node standard on there, with just like a blank node. So I delete that, and then I drag on this fixed node tree from Darren Mostin. I think that's how you pronounce his name. This is a nice, already laid out node tree, which you can then populate and use. All the nodes are basically empty apart from the color space transforms, and then you just use them for what they're labeled for. It's just already set up and ready, and it's just very convenient. I'll leave a link down in the description for this. I highly advise getting it. I lay this on, then at the beginning of here, the first node is a color space transform from the camera profile to DaVinci Wide Gamut, and then at the end, we go from DaVinci Wide Gamut back to Rec 709. It's just so that we're working in the widest colorable color space, widest possible color space, sorry. So first of all, we're just on this first node, we're just gonna select our camera profile. This one was shot by, it's got me in the video, so it's shot by my friend, and he was using an A7 III, Sony A7 III, and shot it in HLG. So we're gonna find that from down here. It's already looking like a fairly good base grade. So now you see the node graphs all laid out, looking good. We've got our color space transform on there. First one, balance and exposure, so we can go through here. You know, that looks, the exposure a bit high on that, so we can maybe bring it down a bit. Contrast, I'm more okay with the contrast on there and the saturation as it is. So just for this example, we're just gonna head straight to the end part, the film look. So let's just pretend this is a perfect grade now, and I wanted to add a film look. In this, Darren Mostin's node tree, it has this node on the end, which it goes from DaVinci Wide Gamut to Cineon log, or whatever it is, because that's what the Kodak LUTs require. It just applies the built-in Kodak 2383 film print LUT, and then converts it back to Rec 709, all in this one node. So if we just turn this on, all you need to do is turn this on, and you can see there's a pretty, I mean, that's pretty extreme. It doesn't really work so great for this shot, but that is the film look for that shot. So that's how I would have done it before. Now, so in our spare node here, I'm gonna now add the Dehancer plugin. That looks horrific at the minute, because by default, it's already selected a bunch of stuff that, you know, it's already selected what it thinks is like what you will want. So we're gonna just go to the bottom first and hit disable all tools, so it is a clean slate for us to work on. Then back up here, we have an input. So you can use this as a color space transform, I believe, and select your camera profiles. It is currently selected as Rec 709, which is incorrect because we want to be working in DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate. So then that will be the right starting place for it. Film, here's where all our film looks are. So they're all in a big old list there. And it's currently selected Kodak Vision 250D. We can click that on and off. It's all right, but I have in my mind an idea. We're going to miss all these other ones quickly. And we're going to go down to the print. I'm going to try the Kodak 2383 print film analog range limiter. So it has the same dynamic range as what film would be. And that's looking pretty nice already, look. That is looking pretty decent just with the film print on there and no actual film stock selected. I think for this shot, no film stock and just the just a film print, the Kodak 2383, which is what that LUT at the end of it would have been doing anyway. Right, now let's try some grain. That grain is way too intense. I'm gonna change that for something like a 65mm so that it's much more subtle, and that is already looking pretty good. I'm gonna leave the film damage, I'm gonna leave the film breath and the gate weave and the overscan. I don't want any of that, but I do want a vignette just to kind of draw the focus on me. So we're gonna enable that. It's looking pretty nice, and we'll get our feather. A good way to check where it is, bring our feather right down. There you go, there's a circle, look. So we can now shift the center to where I am. Okay, so I've shifted the center here to 0.07 because it seems to be very small increments to move the vignette. And now obviously we don't want to leave it with this horrible circle on there, but we can move the size maybe in a bit like that, so it's just focused on my body here. And now turn our feather back up until we get something that's a bit more pleasing and a bit more subtle. There we go, that's looking all right. For just that quick kind of quick grade there, it's looking pretty nice. Okay, so for this one, I've turned off the Kodak 2383 film print and turned on the Kodak Vision 3 250D film stock. This gives the different colors. I do like either the 2383 film print or this Kodak Vision 2350D work for this shot beautifully. Just for a little bit of variation though, this one looks pretty good. I've turned off turned down the grain to like 10, so it's much more subtle because the grain was looking a bit too much. Like I said, I am no professional colorist though, so you know, take whatever I say with a pinch of salt. I'm just doing personal preference on this, not anything technical. I am not a professional colorist. All right, so let's try another one. Let's try this one here. This one here is a transformer dinosaur that's in China, in Chongqing. There's a big valley, gorge, and in it is where they filmed parts of one of the Transformer movies. Therefore, they have some Transformer related statues of these, like the robots, the Transformers, and this is one of them that I filmed when I was there a couple of years back. This, we're gonna have to, as soon as we do this, it's gonna look wacky because this one, and I'll tell you why, this one is filmed in S-Log 3, not HLG, because I only film in S-Log 3. So let's just change that and it should fix it up. So Sony S Gamut.3 Cine, and we'll change this to S-Log 3 when I can find it. There we are. Bam. That's looking a bit better. But you can see it looks a bit dark. It looks very dark, in fact. Let's see. Let's go to our spare here, and we have got. So we can turn off that. This is the original shot. So we Kodak Vision 3 250D. Doesn't look bad. It looks okay. Let's try my favorite film print, which is the Kodak 2383. And that one looks, I prefer that. I think I prefer the 2383 film print more than I do the other film stocks. We can play around with some other film stocks in a minute, but this one is looking pretty banging. Balance and exposure, it is looking pretty slammed for that. So let's bring the exposure up a bit. I think somewhere around here, and we can maybe bring the highlights just down a touch. That is looking all right. Maybe we could lift up our camera here. That looks basically all right. So let's go off of here, and that to me is looking pretty nice, just with putting the film print on there, and we have the grain and a little bit of halation and a little bit of bloom. So that's looking quite nice. Yes. Okay, let's try another one. Let's go to this shot here. This shot here is from a documentary I shot for the United Nations Ecology Project, also in S-Log 3, so we should be able to just in theory select this clip and then middle mouse click the last one we did, also shot in S-Log 3, and we're off to the races. I can already tell by this, though, the exposure is way too high. So let's go and change our exposure in the balance node here, and we're gonna just reset all of these. That's it, reset the whole thing, and see how it is. So we're gonna have to lower the exposure quite a lot. Here we go. We got our spare, and this is all here. It's on a 2383 Kodak film print. Why don't we try something else? Let's try enabling the, see, with this, the Kodak 2383 film print and the Vision 250D is looking not bad. But I think we can probably, let's try turning off the film print a minute. Turn off the film print and let's have a look and see what other film stocks we can go for. I'm going to try one that I really like shooting for photography, which is the Portra 800. That's not bad. That is looking pretty nice. We'll have a play around and see what other ones we've got here. Kodak Supra 100, not bad. Ultramax 400. Rolly CN 200. Yeah. Oof, look at that black and white. Or there's a sepia one in here somewhere. Whoa, that looks wild. We're not gonna use that. Kodak Eastman, where's that? Oh, Ilford, nice. Ilford HP5 plus 400. That's a solid, solid film stock, but I don't want to do black and white for this. I think it, I want to keep it color. Let's try the Fuji Reeler 500D. Also not bad. Maybe. Let's turn that off completely though, and go down. Let's try our Kodak film print. I just can't, I can't decide. Agfa Color 100. Yeah. It's not bad. Maybe if we just add a little bit of saturation back into that. Okay, here we go. So I've added a little bit of extra saturation to this one because it kind of desaturated it quite a lot more than I would want. And then for this, we've got this, I don't know how to say this, Agfa Color Portrait XPS 160. We can try this and see what it looks like with the print added as well. That's not bad. I might add a little bit more saturation because that does desaturate that quite a lot, and I know maybe that's the look that it'd be going for, but I want it slightly more saturated. I like the look of it like this. So, okay, right, there we go. We've got this. It's looking pretty nice. I think that looks pretty good. There are two other shots, and I'm guessing they will probably look perfect with the identical grade on it. So we're just gonna copy this grade over, middle mouse button, click, and oof, that looks actually looks pretty dope. Obviously, probably wanted to tweak these, but just to keep this moving, that's looking pretty solid. You know, we'd probably want to tweak the exposure here, but that's looking pretty okay. It's looking all right for a quick grade. I love the colors on this. It's pretty contrasty, but I'm liking that colors and I'm liking that grain. So we'll try this other shot as well and just copy this one across, and wow, banger. Look at that. That is also looking pretty good. We probably want to boost the exposure on that a bit as well. But I mean, yeah, quite like that. Okay, so to finish this off, I'm just gonna try some of these clips. All the other clips that we've done have been more outdoorsy. These ones are indoors on a shoot that I did for a furniture brand in Shanghai a while back, and they're all just kind of lifestyle clips, so completely different. Let's see how Dehancer can enhance these clips. just give it a whirl. We'll start with this one with this lady sat in the chair drinking a tea. So let's give it a whirl. I'm gonna throw on the node tree. We're gonna go up here and you find our color space. This was once again, as always, sgamut3.cine and slog3. It's looking pretty nice. It's all looking pretty good. Let's have a quick white balance. I'm gonna do this by just white balancing straight off this bit of the wall here. That is looking pretty on point, although I may just warm it up just a touch because it's got the sun rays coming through there, and I think a little bit of warmth would be quite nice. Other than that, it's looking pretty okay as it is. So let's get away from here. We'll go on to our spare, and we're gonna let's move that across. Let's throw Dehancer on here, and that is looking absolutely abysmal straight out of the box. So let's fix that. We'll go down to the bottom. We're gonna disable all the tools, so we've just got the original shot, and now we're gonna make sure that we are working in DaVinci Resolve Intermediate as our input source, and let's see what the Vision 3 250D seems to be like the enabled default. Looks alright, but not fantastic. Let's try our film print. Let's turn our print to 2383 film print, analog range limiter, and enable. And that's looking much better. I'm feeling that I prefer the 2383 film print to the looks of some of these film stocks, actually. So let's do a little bit of tweaking. This seems to have pumped the highlights right out, so we're gonna go back to our balance and exposure, and I guess we'll bring down the gain. Got a bit of the detail back in the curtains. Look, that's nice. And yeah, I mean, this is straight out of the box is looking pretty okay. It's fairly contrasty. Pretty well balanced. It looks all right. So I think now we can just play around with some of the stuff in here. Let's try some halation. Yeah, halation makes it look quite nice. Let's try bloom. Yeah, the bloom and halation on this is pretty solid. It's already added quite a lot to that. I don't know if this is coming across on YouTube, but it's you can see the difference in that quite a lot. That was pretty cool. And let's add a bit of film grain, because everybody loves grain. That is way too intense. I'm not a fan of the 32mm. I think we're gonna go for 65mm at 500 ISO, so it's less. I'm gonna bring that down to like 10. Oh, I see my mistake. I didn't actually adjust the halation. I adjusted the amount of halation, not the amount of grain. So let's try that again. Bring the grain down to like, let's just type it in. Okay, so grain down to 10, and let's have a look. Let's give it a play. It's not bad. It's not bad. I'm going to change that to the 65mm. Yeah, so that looks pretty good. I've turned the grain down to like 10 and I put it on 65mm ISO 500, so it's much more subtle. And it's looking pretty good. I mean, yeah, that just Adding the grain just seems to take the little bit of the you know, digital camera look away from it, which is pretty nice. I mean, I'd be happy either with or without the grain on that. And what I might do here is just go up to our film developer and just add a touch of color boost, just to kind of add a filmic saturation to it. I think that looks pretty nice. Let's see how it works on these other shots if we just copy it across, because it's in exactly the same location for these 3 shots here. So it should, in theory, just be a one-click solution. So, and yeah, that looks pretty nice. I like that. I like the colors on that. That one works. Let's try it on this one. Yeah, all those 3, perfect. Look, grade 1, because they're all in the same location. The lighting didn't really change much because it was all false lighting anyway. we lit that ourselves, apart from the sunlight which is coming into the window there, and we did kind of boost that with the light outside anyway. But yeah, that is how easy that has made those clips look quite nice. So I've got 2 other shots here from the same shoot but in a different location. Let's try and see how these ones go. This is these girls and this dude here, and if we do this, that looks pretty good already. We can maybe, with this one, let's just try let's try a film stock. Let's see how the film stock goes. So that kind of takes the saturation out of it. Maybe if we turn off the film print now. Okay, so that looks all right. The Kodak portrait looks all right, but maybe if we were to pump the saturation a bit more in. I mean, that's looking all right for that one. Why don't we try a different film stock? Let's try some of these other ones. Okay, Fuji color print industrial. I'm not sure if that just means that's what the shops used to do. That looks not bad. Fuji Color Pro 400H. That's actually even better. I like that more. Let's try that Velvia. The Fuji Velvia. Oh, Cinestill 800T. That looks nice. Okay, Cinestill 800. Cinestill 800T is looking pretty sweet. Cinestill 50D. That's daylight balanced. So let's see the difference between those 2. Okay, Cinestill 50D is what we're going to go with here. We're going to add a touch more color boost to that to make it looking kind of nice. And let's just see what it looks like with this film print on. Film print doesn't look bad, but I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to try a different film print. Let's go with Cinnamon Film Log. Nope. Fujifilm 3513 print film. That's not bad. Let's compare that to the 2383. I like the 2383 more than I do this Fuji. It doesn't really work for this shot personally. And there's a Kodak Endura glossy paper, so I'm guessing this is from like you know, a print from a photography based thing, because you won't get paper on film stock that you're using for movies. That one doesn't. That looks actually pretty okay, but I think the Kodak 2383 film print is looking good. We can turn that on and off. Look, see the difference it's making. It's just kind of changing those colors on the wall mainly. Yeah, I actually kind of prefer that without it on. So just with the film stock, and that's looking pretty nice. Okay, so I got another one here. This one is just randomly shot out the window. We were driving on the way to shoot a documentary about a man that is a 65-year-old man who runs 30 kilometers every day and marathons on the weekend. Absolute legend. But let's see how it fits with having something like this on there. That looks pretty cool. I like that. And for this one, because it looks quite old, let's try something fun. Let's try. We'll put a little bit of film damage on there. We'll put some film damage. Put some film breath. some gate weave, and let's choose an overscan. Okay, so we got the overscan. This one is, what's this, 16 millimeter, oh, Super 35. Let's try Super 8. That's pretty fun. Honestly, if you were trying to make it look like you were actually shooting in its actual real film, and you're just showing the negatives like a lot of people like to do on YouTube, that was a quick and easy way of making that super quickly. Like, no need to search for overlays, no need to tweak and add it, just a couple of clicks and it was all on there. That was banging. Let's how about Ultra Panavision 65 millimeter? Yeah, it's looking good. So yeah, the overscan and all these like little features to emulate film is pretty good. Look, because it's got that the subtle variation where it's just slightly changing the exposure. Nice. Okay, so one last thing that's worth mentioning, as well as having the computer-based plugin for whatever software or whatever format of computer you're using, Mac or PC, you also have a phone app. You see here, this phone app has all of the stuff that the plugin on the computer has, all of the same fine control, all of the different things that you can change, and all of the same sliders, all of the same parameters which you can change to get the exact look you wanted, but for your phone. And the best thing about it is it doesn't just do photographs, you can do video. So you could edit a video to have that film look that you've shot with your iPhone. Obviously, there is going to be a difference between shooting on an actual camera like the FX3 that I'm shooting on now and shooting with your iPhone, but with the fact that cameras are getting better and better and better, and even the newest iPhone is pretty good, it shoots in ProRes, right? You can just use the phone app to quickly post things on your socials and still have that amazing benefit of having the possibility to just get that film look. Doesn't work for everything, sometimes it does work. It is fantastic just to have it there, and it is probably the best phone editing app that I have used, in terms of it just gives you a lot of control. There are so many parameters and it is pretty easy and just fun to play around with. So if you are a phone video shooter, that you still have the possibility of just doing this all on your phone, which is pretty good. Once again, the price isn't for everybody, but for what you get for it, it is amazing. Okay, so that's pretty much it. What did you think? Are you already a user of Dehancer? Are you somebody who now would like to get the phone app? Or are you somebody who's never used Dehancer and after seeing this, you're gonna buy it? Let's start a conversation in the comments as always. And let me know if there's any other videos you'd like to me to make about Dehancer. I've got one more planned. I've bought 4 of the popular film stocks from the Emulation, and I'm gonna take my medium format camera out, shoot some pictures on the actual film stock, and then shoot them with my FX3 and grade them into Dehancer and see how close they actually match. If there's anything else that you guys wanna see, hit me up in the comments below. And until next time, guys, peace.